characteristics of the white man is evil. He was made like that through nature, now we say. Naturally, he was made like that. We would say, the devil. We can say a devil cat out there, a devil element, a devil we could call most any grafted thing a devil, you see. But actually, when we say Satan, we mean a man or a people that their wickedness is not, say, confined to themselves. It spreads, and the others is affected by their wickedness. And the white man, we say, is the devil. Why? Because of his weak, physically coming into being from the original man, aboriginal people of the earth. When I met him, I looked at him, and he, it just came to me like this, that this is the Son of Man that the Bible said, that prophesied that will come in the last days of the world, and that I couldn't get that out of me. And I shook hands with him, and I said to him, I say, you are the one that the Bible prophesies that will come at the end of the world under the name Son of Man and under the name the second coming of Jesus. And so he looked at me a little stern, and then he smiled, and he put his head down to my beside my head and whispered in my ear and said these words. He said, yes, I am the one, but who knows that? But yourself. And be quiet. His mother, he says, was a white woman, and his father was a black man. Yes, sir. He taught us that he was born in Mecca, Arabia, and that he had come in and out of this country for about 20 years before ever that he made himself known to us. He had studied, he says, out here, or rather he had enrolled in the California University there, and he lived with a white family out there, he says, while he was going to the University of California. How long he went to this university, I don't know. But he says to me that he did go to this university and enroll there. And other universities he mentioned to me. And finally he told me this, that he had studied every educational systems of the civilized world. And that he could speak and, speak 16 languages and write 10 of them. He could speak 16 fluently. Well, I was not too much learned into scripture at that time, and I had not studied too much, but I had from a child up wanted to learn the scripture because my father was a preacher, and I always from a child up wanted to help him or take his place one day as a preacher. And so I was always studying the Bible. And I had read much about the coming of the judgment and the coming of God and Jesus returning to resurrected dead and all like that. I had studied much of that. And so all of his talk and teachings correspond with what I had learned of the scripture. And therefore I become one of his, I should say 100% convert. And on his leave of us, he began to tell me what I may expect, what will come to pass, and what I should do to try and make my people qualified, rather to reform them and make them accepted by the Islamic people, and teach them that they must change completely in the way of righteousness, and that they would have to forego the name that they was in, and that he would give them all a name himself. And much he said, much he said to me. He used to teach me night and day. We used to sit sometime from early part of the night until sunrise and after sunrise, all night long for about 2 years or more. He was with us 3 years, a little better, and I was constantly around him, and he was constantly teaching me of things of Islam, and what is to come and what was before. And this is the way that we began. And he patted hand on my shoulder, give me kind of a little show, a way around him. And there was some more there present. And he started talking to some of them. And about a month later, he told my wife to tell me to go ahead and start teaching out there in the little part of, uh, I would say, it's not a little part now, it's a very large part, in Hammett, Michigan. That's in Detroit. Hamtramck is in Detroit. And I was living in Hamtramck at that time. So he says to my wife, you tell him that he can go ahead because I had wrote him. And he received my letter. And I was telling him what I could not tell him there in the public. And then he says to me, you go ahead and start teaching, and I will back you up. And I started teaching that he was the answer to the prophecy of the coming of Jesus 2,000 years after Jesus' birth, and that this is the man at that time. And so I did begin teaching that but the Son of Man, the second coming of Jesus is present. This is him now, here among us. But he didn't allow me to go too far with that kind of teachings while he was present. He told me, he said, you can do that after I'm gone. He said, don't talk too much about me. He says, no, he says, give them a little milk. That's the way he talked all the time. And he never would say anything hardly just direct. He would give it to you in a way that you would have to learn just exactly what he meant by what he said. And so he says, you cannot give babies meat. And I understood what he was referring to. And so he said, give little baby milk. He said, and when I'm gone, he said, then you can say whatever you want to about me. And that was about it. And he named all of my family Muhammad.
Where did Brother Muhammad come from? And
he says to me that he had been studying for us what he meant to teach us and to reform us for 42 years, he says to me. And that his father, he says, I should let the world know these things what he said to me. And as I never have went too much into his birth and into his sayings of what took place, uh, so I am going to tell this. I intend to give a full description of it on the 26th of next month in Chicago. Give it in details. But at this time, I can say this, that he told me that his father wanted a son that would go and search for the lost people of kind. He said they had it in the Quran, they had it in the Bible, scriptures, that there would be a lost member at the time of the resurrection, and that they had to find that one because it did not give the location. He says his father wanted to make a son that was would be able, pardon my language, to go and search all the civilizations of the earth to locate these people. And when he finds them, he would be able to teach them and make a disciple of his own of them, to teach them and try and get them together and return them again to their own people. And so he said he was that man, and his father, first child, was a girl. And so he smiled and he said he had to make another try for me. And he said that his father was darker than any of us that he was talking to at the time. So he's a real dark man. He was still alive. And he said, this is the way that this took place. He says, and now, he says, I'm here, and I want you to know, he says, I love you, and my father made me for you, and that we want you to know yourself, and put you on to your own kind. And that is what that he taught, and that of us, about our being away from our people, and that we was unqualified now to mix with them because they were Islam people and we were not, and that we didn't even know who we were. And so that was true, and that was easy to get over to us. And I taken all of this and I taught my people and been teaching them the same. But I never did go into his birth and how his father trained him and what all he said about that. Because I feared my people would not believe, since that they believe mostly spiritual. God is a spirit or something like that, and it's not flesh and blood. He's not visible. And this I'm very slow about getting over to my people, but now they will just have to take it or leave it. These are facts, and this is according to the Bible, that the Son of Man would come, and not a son of a spirit. And this I want to make clear to them and those who believe in the spirit being God and not man. Main base of it all now is to show forth who is God, and he's not what they has thought he was. That he's in man and man is God. And so that is the way that goes. And in Chicago on the 26th of next month, I will go into detail for his birth and his childhood and his manhood and show forth scripture that is relating to this coming of God in man. And the Son there, as the scholars know, it only means the way he has given it to me, that he was born from his father, and to go after the lost found sheep, the Bible call it, and that Jesus made it in beautiful parables, that he will search for the lost sheep and all like that. So it all now has been fulfilled, and this is it now that we are living in, and that my work from him is to teach my people these facts and to reform them and make them what they should be, as they are children, as the Bible teaches from God, but they are lost in evil and practice evil, and that they must now forego evil and accept righteousness, because they are creatures of righteousness.
What happened to Farad Muhammad? Why did he disappear?
Well, that happened like this. After he had given to me what he wanted to uh, give to me as the teachings and the work of preparedness of our people, then it was not necessary for him to remain here among us. So he taken his leave, as it is said in Quran that the people is not worthy that God remain among them, but he makes a messenger of that people, that through that messenger he will reach the people through him. And the Bible is verified the same. And so he left, and that he gave me hint about his return, but now there is just as much prophesied that he will return or he will not return, as there is of his returning, because the Bible say he will send his angels and they will take care the gathering of his people. I don't expect him to return in person, not like that, because there is too much for us to look forward to that he will not. It is not really necessary if he is going to send his own people, as they refer to angels, to gather the believers of my people. It's not necessary.
Where did he go and where is he now?
Well, that is something that we actually cannot say. If one would open up such truth as the truth of God to the people, I do think that he is within his rights to stay out of the sight of the people until he has uh, won everything to himself, as the Bible referred for us to it like this, that he's something like a king looking for a kingdom, and that he go and he visit the people, and then he leaves the people and goes away and wait until the time when that he can secure the kingdom. Then he returns to the people that he had made himself manifest to. So I think that is a pretty good answer. Yes. According to what Master Farad Muhammad taught me on the race question, the origin of the races, uh, in the beginning of the races, they numbered around four. And from these four races of people, they has produced many different types of people. but they are not, say, independent in their beginning. They came from one. We say today we have lots of various color people all over the earth, from we say from brown to white. We are not all the same color due to intermixing with such colors as black, brown, yellow, and red and white. This has produced many other various colors. And the origin of it, according to the teachings of Master Farad Muhammad, to me, was from a scientist, a God. We see him. We see him as a God. Back 6,000 years ago, started we say a scientific, or I should say, a master grafting work on the human being to produce a new civilization, a new race of people from the original race of people, or aboriginal people. This man, Yaqub, who discovered in the dream of the black man that he had two people in him, and that he had learned through study and experimenting on germs that this second germ could produce a powerful people that would be able to rule that which they came from for around 6,000 years until the father, the aboriginal, produces one superior to his man. And that was this, that he taken through experimental work on the germ of man, a people of what we call today a white race. But before he produced it, that white race, he produced it a brown race. He produced it a yellow race, and so on. There is his first grafting from the black man according to the teachings of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom we see him and know him today as being God in person. That this grafting, in its first stage, he had a brown race of people from a black people. And it taken him, according to the teachings of God, 200 years to produce that brown race. And he kept up the process of killing off the browner or the darker one and marrying the lighter one onto the lighter one. For another 200 years, he had yellow race of people. And in this length of time, these brown people were spreading over the area, I would say migrating over the earth to find them a home to themselves. And so when the yellow race was produced, he started too migrating over the earth. And from the yellow race, about 200 years, this grafting kept in process. They, there was on the same islet, well, it was an islet he was on, according to the teachings of Almighty God to me, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. At that time, 200 years, keeping up birth control law. This is what he established. He established it on this island, and there was his lab that he was awakened. We call it a human lab to produce his man. And from this yellow race, he had a white race 200 years later from them. And this was the end of his work. This was the man he was trying to get to. That was our white race. And that made it, in the whole time of his grafting out of black, white, 600 years. And this figure tallies with the Bible's teaching of the man being created in 6 days. This days here you have means a thousand, pardon me, 100 years each, 600 years. And this also tallies with the creation of the universe. That's six, the whole entire universe, according to the Quran, was also created in six periods of time. And so Mr. Yaqub, the mighty scientist of that time, he produced it, his man, on six, because it did tally with the creation of the universe, and it was to this number that he could not further his work. And they would be masters, gods, to rule the earth and the people, everything of life, for 6,000 years. And at the end of 6,000 years, the Aboriginal people will have at that time produced it another one, mightier than Yaqub in wisdom and knowledge. And he would be equal with that one that created the heavens and the earth. And he would have the power and the infinitive wisdom to make his word be as the first one. And this is the man we have before us today, to whom praise is due. Master Farad Muhammad is that man that have the wisdom or the knowledge, excuse me, of how the creation took place in the first place. That's what I mean, the creation of the universe, how it took place, and how life and everything began, down to 6,000 years of Mr. Yaqub and his world, and the knowledge of the world to come, of which he himself is the God of. He's the God of the next world. He's planting it now. And that world that he will set up, we see now gradually merging in, there will be no change in that one. Because, well, the scientists just don't see through the future any other change. And they don't have too much knowledge of his change, as he has not let go yet. He brought me up pretty close, but he has not as yet opened up, as we have in Bible and Quran. I have not seen and I have not heard, and it has not entered into the heart of us what that he will do. But we get little inklings now. We are right in his time. And we do know that he's going to bring about a complete change. As I study now for 33 years after his coming, I have learned my own self from study of his words, what he said to me. That it won't be a world like we see today, nothing of the kind, not even to the Orthodox Muslim. Their world will not even be considered. in his world. As the master scientist, our God, 6,000 years ago, Mr. Yakub, he did not make this world, your world, on the basis of our world. We have a complete new world and a new people in you. So will the great Mahdi, Master Farad Muhammad, he will also build a new world and a new people. And he did tell me that how that we would start taking a change in a new people. Now, just exactly what we will look like, I'm not too sure of that, but I do believe that he's going right back at the origin, but he's going to make a better people. What I mean to say, a people that will be more stronger physically, and they will be taught in such way that they can live much longer. Individual will live probably 1,000 or more years, and teaching something about the not the history, but about the people on Mars. He often would refer to me that just think of them living 1,200 of our Earth years. He says, and we die in less than 100 years. It gives me an idea that he wants to make a people that will live 1,000 or more years.
The black man was the first. We don't record of this black man. We have a record of the birth of others except the black man. There is no birth record of the black man. He is the original or aboriginal man of the earth. And we don't have any, we say, the dated of this man's beginning of his civilization and whereabouts. Because we once was with the moon, or the moon and the earth was together once upon a time, and cannot be a specific spot pointed out where that it actually took place of his building of civilization. But we do know, according to the teachings of Almighty God, Allah to me, that once upon a time that we had nothing in the universe but the sun. And that after that, then they were stars. And from stars to stars and stars and stars. And they saw that the star was essential to our well-being. And from that, we began to make planets. And there is between the creation of the sun and the earth 6 trillion years between the two. And it is often referred to that the universe was made or created in the 3 stages, or we say 3 divisions of it. 2 trillion years to each. And the present moon that we have, which is now 66 trillion years old itself, or rather being in the position that it's in. It originally was about 56,000 miles from this part, or rather, when she was taken from this part. It was gone out of the orbit of that, at that time, 36 6,000 miles, and that part that we are looking at today, it dropped from the original orbit 12,000 miles, lost all its water on this part. That's why she's without water. It's due to the explosion. At that time, 66 trillion years ago, she lost her water by turning over. She turned all over, and the water dropped on this part. And that give us then 3/4 of our surface covered in water, because we have the water from that part. The original man did that. He was the man, rather we say a god or scientist, that brought about that explosion due to his dissatisfaction of not being able to have all the people he liked, and having them speaking the same dialect. So he got angry because he could make them speak the same dialect all the way around, as our planet at that time was something better than 10,000 miles in diameter, while it's around 8,000 now near. And he getting vexed with his own wisdom, unable to do with the people what he wanted to do with them. He goes then and tries to destroy us. His aim was not to make a moon, a satellite for our planet. We had at that time, according to the teachings of God to me, Mars for our moon. It served as our at that time. What I mean, before ever this scientist tried to destroy us. And since he was unable to destroy us, we was lucky to come with this part. The people on the other part was destroyed, but we was lucky to come with this part. And we were called at that time the Aboriginal people, and we are the Aboriginal people today. And in the 6 trillion years before that time, in the creation of light and water, it was the black man.
And the black man has no beginning and no end.
No beginning, no ending. You can't find no history that will give you the birth of the black man. He has always been.
Well, then, since we have no beginning or no end for the black man, no birth, how do you explain, and what is your doctrine on the origin of the Caucasian race?
Well, the Caucasian race came about, as they are called, white people. And they were white people. It was made that Caucasian is a name given to the quality
of the Caucasian race.
Well, the Caucasian race came about, as they are called, white people. And they were white people. It was made that Caucasian is a name given to the quality of the man, means original, weak bone and stale face. The person have a stale color, and his bones are weak, and the color Caucasian. But actually, he was made white. This was brought about, we would consider just recently. To talking into billions and trillions of years, the Caucasian race, their birth is just here of today almost. That took place 6,000 years ago. A black man, he is the father of the Caucasian race. His name was Yakub. They call him Jacob in English. but Arabic is Yaqub. He discovered in the germ of the black man that there were two people, and that instead in the germ, he's learning to divide the germ. And he said, if I can take the germ now, this brown one, and separate it from the dark one, I can make this brown germ here rule the black germ until the black germ produces one that is greater than I. And he, being a very wise scientist, he knew what was coming in the future. So he says, my man will live for 6,000 years, and he will rule his father. And after that, he says, then his brother will come from the east, and he will eat my man up after 6,000 years. So this man discovered this, as I first said, according to the teachings of Almighty God to me, by the germ. And it still can be proven today that the black man have two people in it.
How, sir?
Yes, sir. You have two.
How can this be proved?
And by the germ. The germ you have here. Take one instance. Well, let me come to the surface first. You go to the darkest people that you can find in Africa, where that they has never been touched by Caucasian people, and you will find that one will be a little shader browner than the other. And this man set up a birth control law to take that browner one and marry the browner one on to the browner one and kill off the black. And he kept this going for 600 years. First, he had a little brown race of people after 200 years. And the next 200 years, he had a little yellow race of people, or red race, we say. And the next 200 years, he had a pale white.
Method of birth control.
Yes, he killed the black baby and saved the brown. Or killed the brown one, saved the brown one. Killed the brown one and saved the yellow one. The yellow one saved, until he run it into his last stage. And the last stage is white. And that can be done today. It is not nothing that is a mystery, impossible. It can be done today. But I don't think that they want any more threat. I think they've about got enough of that. Yes, and the black is the original. He's the father of them all.
All these other races are derivatives of the black race.
That's right. That's right.
There was something that was mentioned in Volume 2 of the Supreme Wisdom about some of the physical attributes of the Negro, of the black man. Kinky hair, for example. And there was some cite made as to a scientist who had withdrawn himself from his people. Would you explain
Yes, that happened 50,000 years ago, according to the teachings of Allah to me, which I was with him for 3 years, night and day. I didn't do anything, and he didn't allow me to do anything. He taught me for 3 years, night and day, 7 days a week. I mean, I was confined. I was jailed almost. I had no chance to do anything but just to listen to him.
and learn?
And so, that's right. And he would carry me out of the city sometimes in his little Chevrolet coupe. And we would sit out there sometime 2 or 3 hours at night And he would talk to me about the stars and planets and how long this was making and whatnot. And so this scientist, 50,000 years ago, as they are today, they always meet together and discuss, major things that is going to take place. And each one, passes his own judgment of, we say, vote on whether or not it should be done. So this man, he wanted to, his name was Shabazz. He wanted to make a people different from what we had at that time, and he wanted people that could live in the jungles of East Asia and be able to withstand the hot sun and the wild beasts, anything. He wanted to make a tough man. That don't mean now we was not black now. We was black right on. But we was more delicate, and tender than the man that he produced. So he says to the 11 scientists, if you agree with me, he says, we can produce the people to conquer the jungles of East Asia, as they call it Africa today. And he said we could conquer this part of our planet with this type of people. So he gave them the description and the method how to go about it. And he went and waited on answers, and they never would agree with him. And finally, he said he will not agree with the other 11. He would take his family himself and go and live there and prove to them that he could produce a people that would conquer the jungles of East Asia. And that's where it come in.
Was this the origin then of the tribe of Shabazz?
Yes, sir. That's the origin of.
Something you speak very frequently of is self-knowledge. Now, what does this mean to you?
Self-knowledge is what I am saying now. This is self-knowledge. We have never had the knowledge of ourselves since that we were brought here for slave purposes. We didn't know anything about ourselves. Our grandparents and parents, many of them today who have not heard the ancient history of their people, don't know who they are. And we say, we teach him the knowledge of himself, meaning that he don't know himself. Our people don't know themselves, the average one, because he cannot give any history of himself only from the time that he was put here in the cotton fields of the South. And that history he gotten from his slave master. He know nothing beyond. And this is to give him a knowledge of his fathers and the origin of everything except himself. He cannot get the origin of himself. That would be given to him his birthright. And therefore, you can't give him the origin of himself because you can't give him the birth. Got no birth. He's, we could say that, as God said to me, when I asked him, was not there a beginning? We often, wrangling over the beginning. How did the atom of life begin in the universe? That is such wisdom that we don't like to talk on because you bound to different from me, and I'm going to different from you, because there is no date for it, and to say how it come in action, taking on activity, we don't like to go in, because it's just too much. And I wouldn't like for you to ask me further on that, because I don't like to talk on it. If give you too much talk, you've got to go so far. It's too much to talk on.
But you are in your teachings trying to get the so-called American Negro to know his beginning, something
Yes,
of himself.
the black man of America, he's not a Negro. This is the slave master's name given to our fathers under slavery. There's no such thing as a race or nation of Negroes. You don't find that nowhere. This is our people's slang name given by the white slave masters. Well, he had in it. Let's take a look into why did he call us Negroes after he made us slave. Well, we was pretty dumb when he brought us here. It's not that we can say that we were smart, we were wise. No, that we would not have come here. He could not have brought us here. We was not too smart. And so, after depriving us of the knowledge of ourselves, knowledge of our name, the knowledge of our language, of our people, knowledge of our people's history, he called us Negro. Negro means something that is dead, lifeless, neutral. It's a neutral thing, something that you have to move, or you put it down, well, it will stay right there until that you move it again. It is not something that it have any power of itself. It's it's moved by the power of another one. So he gave us this name, and it means something that is dead and lifeless, and that goes for our mental power. After being deprived of the knowledge of yourself, then you're considered mentally dead. And so the book translated, the Bible translated 400 and some years ago, about 50 some years ago now, I think it is. They put in there the resurrection of the dead. When the resurrection of the dead come, that would be the judgment. The resurrection only means the mentally dead people. We are the people to be resurrected. And when the resurrection of the so-called Negro or the black man of America, when he is resurrected into the knowledge of self and in the knowledge of God and the devil, then that's the end of the world. And this is it now going on. This is the end of the white man's world. According to the history, scientists, and science, you can take it for granted. It is the end, and this must be done in order to not to give injustice to a person that have no knowledge of what it is all about. So before the God can destroy the world, he must give us a knowledge of why he is destroying. And why are you killing me? He don't do things unjust. And so he always, according to the Holy Quran, he makes a people aware of why that he destroyed them or chastised them.
Now, you mentioned that the American Negro is being resurrected to knowledge of himself, self-knowledge. Mr. Muhammad, how did you receive this self-knowledge?
I receive this knowledge that I'm teaching and that I'm putting my life against, that if you can prove it other than the truth, from God in the person of one Mr. Farad Muhammad. He used the name Farad Muhammad. When he first made himself known to me and others, he used just the Farad, Wallace Farad. And he had an initial in between there that I never knew what that initial stood for. And that was a W. D. Wallace D. Farad is what he give to us. Then, in the third year, on his departure, he told me that his name was Wallace Farad Muhammad, W.F. Muhammad, right there.
This was the first time that he revealed his name to you.
First time he put the Muhammad to it. Yes. So, I studied that then. From what he gave to me to study, he gave to me a Holy Quran in Arab, and I couldn't read it. So then he goes and gets me a Holy Quran in Arabic and English. And so I taken this book and I studied it from what he lined me up with. He gave me a copy of Texas and places and other books. He gave to me the names of 104 books that is in the Congressional Library in Washington. And I studied them for 7 years. They're up and down the East Coast. And I have the Quran that he gave to me, given about 2/3 of it to study. The other third, he said, didn't amount to anything because that would be probably in some other man's time and not our time, and we shouldn't be worried about what the other fellow have to do. Let him worry over that. Well, when I first met him, it came to me that he was the man that the Bible prophesied would come in the last days as the Son of Man. And I recognized him to be that, as I had studied Bible ever since I was a little child. When I first learned to read, I learned to read Bible. And I always thought that I would be a preacher, but not a preacher of Islam. I didn't know nothing about Islam. I thought I would be a preacher of the religion of my father. That was Christianity, and he was a Baptist preacher, and I thought maybe I would be one. But I always told them if I ever preach, I would make enemies. I said because my father and the other preachers would not like me if I preached. I said because I see so many things that they are saying and preaching is wrong. And so I went along like that until I was 35 years old before I actually was sent to preach. Then when I met this man, then I told him, I say, you are the one that the Bible teaches that will come, the Son of Man or the Messiah. And so he whispered in my ear. He got close to me. He looked all around, see who heard that. And he whispered in my ear and told me, he said, yes. He said, but keep quiet. He says, don't say anything to anyone about that. He said, I will let you know when to say that. to my people is just that. What I teach them is life to them. And what I bring them out of into this is death. My mission is the last of the scientists or the truth that is to come to the world before the world is destroyed. You will not have no other messenger. I am the last one. Behind me come God himself. I don't say I will live so long, but after me, God will come, or if it pleases him, I may be with it. But if I am not with him, this is the last. This truth brings you into the knowledge of yourself and of God. There is nothing hidden too much in the God. In this teachings, you learn what God is and what you could learn to be God yourself. This is God. Is the real God's teaching. What is God and how things was made and brought about. This is what it is, and this is the last wisdom to be given to the world. And a knowledge of how this world was made. I said that this world was brought about according to God's teaching to me by grafting. The white race is a grafted people. It was grafted from the original people, the dark people. And in making them, we made a brown race, yellow race, and a red race. To get to the, we said the final of the journey. At the end, can't be nothing but white. So that's what the scientist was after. He was after grafting the germ into its last stage. And the last stage was white. White and blue eyes. And no other race has that. And because the white man is the end of we can't make nothing else. This is what the Holy One refers to as we have tried everything and everything obeyed Allah but man. It is often asked by people, why did God make devil? And it's not a bad question to ask, and it's not a bad answer. Many people think that the God that created the heavens and the earth is the same God that created the devil or Satan. We should say Satan, because the meanings is better understood. Because Satan and Arabic language mostly give it that is a person or persons. That is evil, and the evil is not confined to oneself. It's evil that affects others. And that is what is actually meant when we say Satan. Satan is a person that is evil, or people that is evil, and that evil affects others.
Well, now, would you say that the white man is a descendant of Satan?
No, I would not say the white man is a descendant of Satan, because that would be wrong. We didn't have a Satan before white man. So the white man is Satan himself. It is not, he's not a descendant of something. He is what he is in his own sphere, a nation as you are. And that he is not a descendant. The God that created the white man, he created him for a purpose of showing forth wisdom that was yet hidden in the God, that was not made manifest. This is the main purpose. It is not a useless thing that the race was created or made, and it's not the God that created the heavens and the earth in truth. This is a rebel or rebel of that God that made this race of people. And he made them not say to attack God, as many scholars on Scripture and on the question of devil and Satan desire to answer. He was not made exactly for all of that, and the man didn't have all of that in his mind. We would say to God that created him. What he actually had in his mind, the idea was this: to make a man just opposite to what we was, or a people just opposite to us in general, a different person, absolutely, without being the nature of us, not having our ideas, but a new people altogether, and to try them at ruling. His main idea was to make a people that could rule us and not be us, and not say that he was angry with the God and wanted to attack God and didn't like God's rule. He was not that type of man. Jacob was very wise, and he was one of the righteous, as the Bible refers to him as being one of the angels. He was. And he lost his place because of what he did. And the Bible don't give to you a clear picture of it. His fall was due to him, not say attacking God in war, as the Bible teaches, but his idea was wrong, and therefore the God would not agree that he make his man in the what we call today the Holy Land. That if he wanted to make the man, they would agree that he make him. But he must make him out of the spirit of the righteous people, since that his idea was unrighteous. They exiled him for having the idea of creating unrighteousness to rule righteousness. And he was so powerful at the time that they were actually afraid to oppose his ideas because he was too wise a man. He could have caused a lot of trouble at the time. As the time goes on, as I would like to say right here in this phase of the talk, that men's wisdom lasted or is supreme until and never one that is supreme over his wisdom or have supreme wisdom over him. This is the way the gods run. We don't have just one man's wisdom extending all the time. It's another one.
A constant, ever-changing...
Yes, sir. Your wisdom of making this, we say that radio over there, may last for 5 or 6 years until another man learns to make a better one. And then when he learns to make a better one, you still get the credit for being the first one to make the radio. But they have improved on it. And you come back maybe 100 years from now, you wouldn't know your machine at all. So much improvement has been added. Like the Ford, who makes the Ford car, Ford motor, all right? If Ford would look at his car today, he would say he was dumb when he, started making the car because look at the improvement on it. You see, it's not Ford have put all of this improvement to the car, but he was the founder of the car. So it is with wise men in the spiritual work and other sciences that we worship the God that has made and created. We have them coming at intervals, when one's wisdom is exhausted, another one picks up and he improves on what you have done. Like the God that divided our planet. He was wise enough to want to have his word bond 100%, and let every man know that he was to speak the same language and do the same thing. And this was against nature. The world, the heavens and the earth was not created like that. They vary. And so, therefore, this man failed, and he got angry and said, well, since they won't be like I want them to be, I will destroy myself in them too. Well, he missed, because that it's just the universe is made in such way by the Creator that you can't destroy it yourself, and you can't destroy the people of the Creator.
They may change in time.
Yeah, regardless to what you plan, as you may think today, or know today that Russia and America have the most deadliest and the most destructive weapons that ever has been fashioned by any scientist of war of the past. But nevertheless, if they say that they can destroy the human being on this earth 3 times or 10 times if they wanted to, they can't do it. Regardless of what weapons you may use to destroy all life on the earth, you will fail. Because there is someone all sitting back behind the curtain that you don't know, that knows what you know. And he knows an enemy that can destroy the enemy that you have fashioned. This is the way it was in the time of this man just trying to destroy our planet. Reason I take up this talk with you, because we're in a time that the same thing is in the minds of these people. They would like to destroy the whole entire human family of the earth if they are destroyed. Each one. What I mean to say, the scientists of Russia and America, these war scientists, they are ready to destroy each other and has prepared themselves to do so. But a silent scientist know what they has prepared and know they can do so if they were given the freedom. But they will not be given the freedom to destroy all human beings. You can't do it. There always is left one from that same family at the beginning who has the key. He holds the key. And you can't get the key. What I mean the key is the key to the knowledge how to control the powers of the nature in which the universe has been created in. When you are lucky enough to land that key to control the powers we say of nature, then you can rule anyone that will rise up as your enemy, because there is no people today that can control the power or the forces of nature, but a few. They're only a few, and they secret. You don't know them. If you see them, you would not know them. And they have been here all the while. What I mean, when he died, he leaves it with his son, and his son keeps it. It goes like that. And there is no such thing as the earth or the people being able, or the scientists of this world being able to destroy the whole thing, though they are able to do it, but they can't do it. This man was able to do it. He drilled a tube into our planet at that time, which had a diameter of better than 10,000 miles. And he drilled a tube into it like you mining coal. And he went on into a couple of thousand miles into the planet. Not a couple of miles, but a couple of thousand miles. He put the tube in it. They filled the tube with high, explosives. It was dynamite, but it is not the weak kind that is used at the present day. It was that dynamite, 70% stronger, highly explosive than this that they are using today. It was most powerful. And therefore, he filled that tube up and he let go. He thought that that would be the end of the whole thing. But he missed. This part that we are on dropped 36,000 miles from its original pocket that it was rotating in from the blast of this explosion. And the explosion taking the part that we have now for moon. As all scientists or astronomers, they admit that the moon is a part of the earth. It's the essence of the earth, only don't have no water on it. And that part was blasted 12,000 miles away from the original pocket before it turned over and lost the water.
Which is now on Earth as we...
Yeah. The Earth now has the water that was on that part, and that makes this part 3/4 covered with water because it taken that part. We didn't used to have this much water in our atmosphere. We have at sea level here, very much water. But when the moon and the earth was together, we didn't have it. A man cannot be enslaved that have equal knowledge. It takes an inferior or a superior to enslave. And therefore, we was brought here 400 years or more ago, according to the history, and that the white man, the slave masters, deprived our fathers of the knowledge of themselves. And therefore, they have not taught them the true knowledge of themselves, nor the true history of their people, even dating back to the 11th century. They don't teach them that. When that they were, I would say, in very, very, not say it like they once was before this, but in the 11th century, they had control of Africa, and they had very fine governments at that time there, and they had very smart scientists at that time, and our people don't know anything about that. That history was never given to our people. The white man don't teach you anything about yourself other than from the time he brought you here. and a little knowledge of how savage our fathers probably was in the jungles. But actually, civilization of our people is not been given to us. And this is the time that they must know themselves, because that we're at the crossroads, or we would say at the point of departure. We must depart. We must be separated now. And therefore, you cannot be separated unless you have the knowledge of yourself. You cannot go for yourself without the knowledge of yourself. And this thing is very, I would say, touchy to talk on. As I said in the beginning, truth hurts. Now, there are many of our people thinks that the white man is not so bad after all, and he's not so good after all. But we get the nature of a thing, and the nature gives us then the whole. We were brought here by the white people for slave purposes, and not for to be made citizens. We didn't acquire citizenship papers to come here. We were brought here as a piece of property. And to keep that piece of property, it is to not allow the property to know the value of the property. And what I mean by that, if you had known the history of yourself, you would not have been made a slave. And you won't be a slave now if you have a knowledge of yourself. It's hard to enslave a person that have equal knowledge with you. You just can't do it. And so this knowledge of yourself is the thing that will free you from what you have been suffering from. That is the enslavement or service given to the white race, and they caring for you, preparing for you, and you not preparing for yourself, nor does you study for yourself, nor your people, and you are not with yourself and people to do nothing for self and people because of the lack of knowledge. So this is one of the greatest, we say, wrong or evil that a man can do to another. That is to rob him of the knowledge of himself. You can't find an equal evil to that than to rob a man of the knowledge of himself. That's the worst evil that you can do to a person. So this is the trouble with our people here. They has been robbed of the knowledge of themselves, as the Bible teaches you there in Isaiah, where it teaches that this is a people that is robbed and spoiled and is in prison houses and whatnot. That is us. That is not some people in ancient time. That's us. We are the one the Bible is referring to. And the white man is the one who have robbed us of the knowledge of ourselves and have spoiled us. We are a people that has been robbed and spoiled. Now, to get your knowledge, just who you are, you have to have the knowledge of the slave master. And to go into that, you have to go far enough into the knowledge of yourself to convince the slave master that you know yourself. What I mean by that, you will have not to go back to his history. You got to go beyond his history. Because if you stop at his history, you will not yet be his equal. He still will be your superior. But if you have knowledge beyond, then you can easily see the white man and his civilization and see yourself as not making any preparations whatsoever for yourself. You're not writing any history for yourself. Not one day you are writing history for yourself. All the history that you make here goes to the credit of the white man. You're not making no history for yourself.
Sir, do you think that there are the Negroes who have such a heavy identification with the Caucasian that they are afraid and ashamed to know something about themselves? And this is a reason why they do not want self-knowledge.
I don't say that. A man that don't know, he just don't know. And you cannot say that a man is he shunning oncoming car when he don't know one is coming. So I would not say that. I just say it's due to his absolutely blindness. He just don't know. If you go to Harvard or Harvard or Yale's, you returns with a degree for a certain course, right? All right. When you get back here with that course, you should be able to do as the white man who went to the same university. He comes back and he makes a way for himself and his people. You come back and you still looks to him, right? You don't make no way for yourself. You come back going to his office, asking him, showing him your degrees that he gave to you, that I can do this job. Instead of going to your people, saying to your people, look, I know this now. Come on, follow me and I will show you how to do something for yourself. This is not mine, because that we don't have the mind or knowledge of self. And therefore, we just have the knowledge that we are taught in school, education, from grade school to the universities of the white man. And yet, they don't know who we are. Nowhere in the courses of your studies teach you a thorough knowledge of yourself.
Sir, does Christianity keep us from a knowledge of ourselves?
Yes. Yes, Christianity keeps you a knowledge, keep you from the knowledge of self.
How does it?
That's what it was made for. Christianity is one of the number one slavery teaching. That's the most worst slavery teaching you have, is in that religion, Christianity. If it was a piece of wet cloth, if you wring it out, every drop would be right slavery. There's no such thing as a light of knowledge in Christianity for you and me. It's a fine tool for the white man. I don't blame the white man for using these things if he, make them. That's his makeup. Here, you must remember, Christianity was not organized by no prophets. No prophets of God organized that religion. No. But they uses a prophet name and a good one in order that you may accept it. But it is not from Jesus at all. Jesus knew nothing about Christianity.
Who is it from?
Well, it's from the slave-making people of It's from the white people. It's an organized religion. And Islam is not an organized religion. Islam is the nature of God and the nature of you and I. So it is not a religion and cannot be considered a religion. Because a religion is something that is organized or something that scientists set up to use, or an object of worship, or a court of some rules that they use to rule the people with. But Islam is different. Islam is the nature of you and I. It is the nature of God. That's why it don't have any beginning, no birth record to Islam.
It is that 98% of the Negroes, so-called Negroes, have not accepted Islam as being their true religion. And that 2% are with me. But others will have to be chastised into knowing and the knowledge of Allah, God of salvation.
You take, for instance, the meanings of Islam only means entire submission to the will of God. All right? 98% of our people, when they heard the name Islam, they think it's something strange. They never heard that before. They don't think it's a religion of God. It is because the Arab word Islam for submission. I submit to God, or I submit to the will of God. That's Islam. Not that it is something contrary. You know, when a man says he don't believe in Islam, that's a man that don't believe in God. You see, and a man say I will not be a Muslim. It's a man that is telling the world, I will not submit to the will of God. But they don't know that. They don't take time to ask you what the name means. They don't know and don't ask for the meaning. So we have here 98% of our people, they have never heard of Islam. Our people was never taught Islam. The white people don't teach Islam. There is some white Muslims here in the country. I have several letters from white Muslims, but they don't teach you Islam. It's a religion that the white people don't teach the black man. They know it is a whole world. It's not an organization, it's a world. But they don't teach you, they commercialize on it. They take it and use it in higher masonry, they call it, and there they must commercialize on the religion. At certain degrees, like 32nd, 33rd, they say they are Muslims, Shriners. They make a mark of the religion, and they commercialize on. They sell it to you, and to get that degree, it may cost you $500 or more than that. Everybody can get that degree, and the so-called black, or rather Negro, the so-called Negro of Americans, he is never taught degrees right. He is given 3 or 4 degrees at once, while he should not be given but 1 degree at a time. And then he would learn what he is trying to learn.
But what do you mean by being chastised into the knowledge of Allah? How do you mean chastised?
Well, you are not an enemy of God. You are God's people. You were made, you have no beginning. You are God's people. And that He wants you to take your place as a member of your own nation. And
And when the father wants a child to do what he wants him to do, he whips him, he chastises him, right?
Yes.
But if you don't want to train to teach that child, you leave that child go to his parents. Tell him, says, you don't belong to me, you go on to your parents, and I got nothing to do with you. But your child, you love that child, and you want to teach the child a certain course. And if he won't learn, you will whip him and make him to learn. Well, this is what God will have to do for you. Since you want, accept it free and be taught, peacefully and brought into it, he will chastise you. Chastising comes in many various ways. It comes sometimes by loss of, relatives, good friends, and loss of property, and you maybe have other ways that you will be conscious to the fact that you've been going through with this because I did not accept Islam. That man was telling me or teaching me right, and I didn't believe it. He makes you conscious to that fact. As the Holy One said that God never chastise a person, people, until he makes them aware of what he's chastising them for. So the so-called American Negro will be chastised with what the Holy One and Bible, in the revelation of the Bible, refers to as grief-stricken, being stricken with grief. And this grief will be so severe that you will wish that you was dead. You will ask people to kill you, to get you out of it.
Well, now, of course, grief can take many forms. Do you mean all forms, physical, mental, so forth and so on? But what do you mean?
Mental. Over rejection of the truth, and you'll be terrified in this grief by this evil that you have committed. All your evil take forms, and you see them visible in forms. This will be just to terrorize you. And, well, it's a terrible thing. It's so terrific at times that you won't be able to even blink your eye nor move your hand or feet.
And this will be the way of chastisement?
Yes, sir. That will go on for about a year or two. And if you don't change in about 3 years, then you will be burned. That will be the end of you. As this world, as you have always been taught, will be destroyed by fire. And that's right. All the scientists know that the world of the white man will be destroyed by fire.
And when you speak of the world being destroyed by fire, you speak of the white man, the devil, his world.
That's right. That's right. It will burn. This is the only place, though. Not Europe. Nowhere but right here in America. This place will be the one that the Bible refers to as a lake of fire. Not even South America. It won't be. It will be affected, but it won't be burned. But this place here will be set afire divinely by the exploding of atoms. It will cause all what we have here now as atmosphere, we call it. It all will be fire. No atmosphere, no water, nowhere. All fire. And in all, it'll be 1,000 years before ever that human life can live here where you and I are now living.
Then only those who have accepted Allah, and Allah has accepted them, will be saved. Now, when does this fire come?
That's
like asking me, when is the day of judgment? That's the end, brother, when that takes place. That's known only to Allah. All we are told is something near to that time, but we are never told the date. No,
within a matter of
no man knows the actual date but God himself. But we, well, it is said that the year is known. And some of the scientists know the year.
Do you know the year, sir?
I didn't say I know the year. I said some of the scientists know the year. And that these things will come, and we are living right in the door of it now. This world's time was up according to the word of Allah. It was supposed to be the end of this world in 1914. They all knew that. What I mean, the scientists. And the extension of time is due to the resurrection. The resurrection have to take place before ever there can be a destruction of the present world or this way of civilization. We have had, according to the teaching of Almighty God Allah, many gods that set up worlds in the past. And they had civilization of this or that type. But when the next one comes in, this is all erased. So you won't pattern after the other man, you see. And the same goes for this world. When this world is destroyed, you won't be able to get nothing from it.
There will be nothing to influence
nothing
the next.
More, nothing. Like the Bible teaches you, it says it will be destroyed in all its works. Meaning everything, even this. You won't have the picture of the lamp. You will have to make your own lamp. See, this was for this God in this world. Now you must build from your brains yourself another world. And everything is different. You are not allowed to pattern after the others because they destroy all the markings and signs of it. All the libraries is destroyed. As you today, and I know that according to history, Noah, his people was destroyed, and there was a few towns and cities there, and we have no knowledge of their civilization, no more than just a word or two here and there. Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, but you have no knowledge of their history because there was none saved. The library was burned up. And therefore you can't get no knowledge of what they, how they carried on, only that they was wicked. That's all we know, and that they did this kind of wickedness. But how they build, what they build from, and how they formed or made this or that, no, you don't get that.
Well, now, when the fire comes, sir, there will be a certain number of people who will be saved from this fire, and they will be in the next world.
Yeah.
Will they not be able to carry some of that information from their world to the next?
Yeah, you will have some knowledge of what you just left from for a time, but you'll be put in a place where that it won't be published. It won't be put in no books, and you won't be allowed to speak the language anymore. That also goes for the next life. You won't even speak this language.
Then you will learn again and anew.
Everything will be said to you in the other language. And you won't be allowed to say left. You're going to call this after the other language.
It will not be allowed.